It's hard to explain how loyalty feels when it's tested. Not just I've got your back loyalty, but that quiet, bone-deep kind that comes from being someone's sister. My sister Emily isn't just family to me. She's my person. Growing up, she was the shy one, always trusting people too easily. And me, I was the protector, the one who'd step in when someone was cruel or tried to take advantage of her kindness. So when she met Jason, her now ex-husband, I wanted so badly for him to be different. He was charming, confident, funny in that effortless way that makes you believe he's genuine. I liked him. I'll admit it. He had this easy smile and made Emily light up like I hadn't seen in years. When they got married, I cried. Because for once, I thought she'd found someone who truly saw her. But love? It blinds you sometimes. At first, the little things didn't seem like much. A late night here, a hangover there, some forgotten dinner plans. But then it became patterns. And the excuses piled up. I had to stay late at work. The guys wanted one more drink. You're overreacting. That last one. I started to hate those words. He had this way of saying it that made her question her own feelings. Made me doubt what I was seeing. I'll never forget one night, about 2 years into their marriage. Emily called me, whispering like she was scared to even breathe. "Can I come over?" she said. Please don't ask why. When she showed up at my door, her eyes were red and swollen. She sat at my kitchen table, silent for 5 minutes before finally saying, "I think he's cheating on me." My heart dropped. She had found messages. Nothing explicit, but enough to make her stomach twist. He'd been texting someone from work. Inside jokes. Flirty emojis. Late night "you up?" Texts, and when she confronted him, he flipped it. Told her she was paranoid. That I had probably put the idea in her head. That night, I promised her she wasn't crazy. But the thing is, once you start noticing, you can't unsee it. The smell of perfume that wasn't hers. The way his phone was always flipped face down. The lies that didn't even bother to make sense anymore. And then came the drinking. I don't even know when it became a problem. Maybe it always was, just hidden behind the charm. But soon it was every night. The slurred words, the anger, the apologies that felt scripted. He'd call me sometimes, drunk, rambling about how Emily didn't understand him. I'd hang up every time. By the end, Emily wasn't the same person. She'd lost weight. She barely laughed. Her voice sounded tired, and then one night she showed up again. Only this time she wasn't crying. She was done. She had found undeniable proof. Photos, screenshots, hotel receipts. He wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. I helped her pack her things at midnight. He came home halfway through, reeking of whiskey, and sneered, "You're really doing this?" Over some texts. I remember standing between them and saying, "Jason, you've done enough. Don't make this harder." He looked at me cold and angry and said, "You've always hated me. You just want to see me alone." That stuck with me, how quick he was to make himself the victim. When she left, he didn't chase her, not once. But he did make every step after that miserable, dragging the divorce, withholding money, talking behind her back. And my husband, Mark, he's always been loyal to a fault. He and Jason were friends before the marriage fell apart. He said things like, "I know he messed up, but he's still my buddy." And that hurt, because it felt like everyone wanted peace, except me. So it had been 4 months since my sister left Jason. 4 months since the night we loaded her things into my car, her hands shaking while she whispered, "I just want to be free." 4 months, and I swear, the peace in our lives felt fragile, like a glass that could shatter any minute. Emily was healing slowly. She had found a small apartment near the park, started painting again, something she hadn't done in years. Sometimes she'd send me photos of half-finished canvases with colors that looked like emotions she couldn't say out loud. Meanwhile, Jason was doing the exact opposite. He was everywhere. At the bar, on social media, flirting with anyone who'd listen, acting like a man who'd been wronged instead of one who destroyed his own marriage. People love a good story, and Jason knew how to spin one. To some, he was the guy whose wife left him out of nowhere. To others, he was finally moving on. But I knew better. I'd seen too much to be fooled by that easy smile. Mark, my husband, was trying to stay neutral. He'd always been that kind of man. Logical, calm, the peacekeeper. And I love him for it. But sometimes his calmness feels like distance. One night, I was making dinner when he said, almost too casually, "Hey, you'll never guess who Jason's seeing now." I froze. "Oh, I'm sure I don't care." He chuckled awkwardly. "Her name's Sarah. She's younger, mid-20s maybe." He says she's good for him. I could feel my irritation rising like heat. Good for him? That's great, Mark. Maybe she can teach him how not to ruin a woman's life next time. He sighed. Come on, that's not fair. But it was. Still, I dropped it. I didn't want another argument about Jason, until about a week later, Mark came into the kitchen with that tone husbands get when they're about to ask something they know won't go well. So, Jason was wondering if he could stop by Sunday. I didn't even look up from what I was doing. Why? He wants to introduce us to Sarah. Said he thinks it's time everyone gets along, start fresh. I stopped stirring. Start fresh? I turned to him slowly. With who? The sister of the woman he cheated on and emotionally destroyed? Mark rubbed the back of his neck, trying to play it off. I told him it might not be the best idea, but he said you'd probably understand. That you're not the type to hold grudges. I laughed. That bitter, tired kind of laugh that means you're kidding, right? He really said that? Yeah. Mark, I held my sister while she cried herself to sleep for weeks. I've seen her check her phone 10 times a day, hoping for an apology that never came. And now he wants me to smile and play hostess for his new girlfriend? Mark didn't say anything. He just looked torn. And that hurt more than anything. It wasn't just Jason's audacity. It was the realization that my husband didn't get it. Later that night, Jason texted me directly. Hey, heard from Mark that Sunday works. Excited for you guys to meet Sarah. I stared at the message for a long time before typing back. No, Jason, I don't think that's appropriate. He replied almost instantly. Seriously? Are you going to be like this forever? It's been months. Time to move on. I set my phone down shaking. Not from anger, but from that cold, steady kind of disbelief. Move on? You destroy someone's trust, their dignity, their heart, and we have to move on? I didn't answer. But the next day, Mark told me Jason was upset, said I was being immature, that I was making things awkward for everyone. And for a moment, I questioned myself. Was I being too harsh? Was I letting my anger speak louder than reason? But then I remembered Emily's voice. That small, trembling one she had the night she left him. He made me feel like I was nothing. And that was enough to remind me. I wasn't doing this out of hate. I was doing it out of love. Still, the guilt settled in my stomach. My husband was distant for a few days. My mom even called, gently suggesting that maybe it wouldn't hurt to be civil. She said, "You know how small towns are, honey. People talk? Yeah, people always talk." They talked when Emily left him, too, whispering that she must have been difficult if her husband had to find comfort elsewhere. I was done caring what people thought. A few nights later, Emily came over for dinner. I told her about the invitation and how I'd refused it. She went quiet for a long time, then said softly, "You didn't have to do that for me." I smiled sadly. "I didn't do it for you. I did it because I have self-respect. Because he doesn't get to use my house as a stage for his redemption arc." For the first time in a while, she actually laughed. And it felt like victory. After I refused Jason's invitation, things changed. Slowly, at first, like a low rumble before a storm, people started noticing. Mutual friends asked awkwardly if I'd met the new girlfriend yet. My phone buzzed with passive-aggressive comments from people trying to play diplomat. "Maybe you're being a little harsh. It's only polite to say hi. You really shouldn't hold grudges forever." I read them all and deleted them. It wasn't about politeness. It wasn't about grudges, it was about boundaries. About respect. About refusing to pretend everything was normal after watching someone hurt your sister in ways that leave marks no one else sees. Meanwhile, Jason didn't take the refusal quietly. "Oh no," he started texting Mark incessantly. At first, it was the usual. "Why is she being like this? Can't you talk some sense into her?" Then it got nastier. "She's trying to ruin everything." Mark tried to mediate, but even he looked exhausted. One evening, he said softly, "I get it. I really do. But maybe a little flexibility wouldn't hurt." "Mark," I said, my voice low but firm, "flexibility doesn't mean letting him waltz into my house with some girl he's barely known and act like nothing happened. This isn't a favor I owe him. It's a line I refuse to cross." It was a line, and I wasn't budging. Then the gossip started spreading in the small town we lived in. People whispered about the ex who won't let the new girlfriend be part of the family. Even some of Jason's mutual friends began looking at me with this smug, judgmental expression, as if I was the unreasonable one. I felt a tight knot in my chest every time someone said, "You're being difficult," or "It's just for courtesy." One Saturday, I ran into Sarah, his new girlfriend, at the grocery store. She looked nervous, polite, and maybe a little sad. I smiled faintly, nodded, and moved along. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't angry at her. I wasn't even that angry at Jason anymore. I was angry at the situation. At the unfair expectation that I should erase months of pain and act like everything was fine. A week later, Jason sent a group text to our extended family. "So, are we all going to act like adults and meet Sarah this weekend? Or are we still holding grudges?" "Just trying to keep things friendly." I ignored it. Mark stared at the phone and muttered, "He's really pushing it." I nodded. "Let him. It'll blow over. People like him always overplay their hand." And he did. He started complaining openly at family gatherings, subtly mocking me for being immature, for holding grudges, for making a mountain out of a molehill. I felt the urge to snap, to explain, to scream, but I didn't because the truth is, actions speak louder than words. Every day, my sister grew stronger. Every day, Jason's charm began to crumble in the eyes of everyone who actually knew the truth. It was like a slow victory. Quiet, understated, but satisfying all the same. Even Mark began to see it. One evening, as we were sitting on the porch watching the sunset, he said, "You know, I think you did the right thing. Not everyone has the strength to stand their ground like that." I smiled. But deep down, I knew it wasn't about me. It was about protecting my sister. And about proving, to everyone, especially to me, that respect is earned, not demanded. It was a Sunday afternoon, quiet and still, the kind of peace that only exists right before chaos. Jason showed up at our street that day, not at the house, not invited, just driving by. He pulled up, leaned on his car, and sent me a text. "You're really making this awkward for everyone. Come on, can we just talk?" I didn't reply. Instead, I watched him pace back and forth, fiddling with his phone, looking frustrated and desperate. Sarah, the new girlfriend, sat nervously in the passenger seat, glancing at the houses, probably wondering what kind of family she'd gotten herself tangled with. I grabbed Mark's hand. "Don't engage. Let him wear himself out," Mark nodded. I could see the conflict in his eyes, wanting to be the peacemaker, wanting to protect me, but also sensing how ridiculous Jason was being. Hours passed. Then came the texts, the calls, the voicemails. The tone shifted from pleading to accusatory. Why won't you let me introduce her? This is ridiculous. You're the problem, not me. Everyone's talking, you know. You're making me look bad. And that's when I realized I wasn't reacting because I was angry. I was done. I sat down on the porch, my phone beside me. I let the messages come. I didn't reply. I didn't escalate. Eventually, the frustration got to him. Sarah whispered something I couldn't hear, and then the car drove away, tires crunching over gravel. It was over. Later that night, Emily came over. She'd heard about the whole ordeal from a mutual friend, how Jason had been pacing, texting, making a scene. She hugged me tight. Thank you, she whispered. For not letting him drag you in, for keeping me safe, for keeping you safe too. And that's when it hit me. My victory wasn't public. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't even about proving him wrong. It was about protecting what mattered. It was about loyalty. It was about boundaries. In the days that followed, the rumors slowed down. People began to see the truth. Jason's charm wore off when it collided with reality. Sarah, the new girlfriend, started noticing cracks. The lies, the manipulation, the disrespect. I stayed firm. I didn't apologize. I didn't back down. And slowly, quietly, I saw things start to right themselves. Mark finally said one evening, "You were right. It wasn't about grudges. It was about knowing your limits and sticking to them." I nodded, feeling a weight lift off my chest, because that's what it was. Not hate, not revenge, just boundaries. Just love for my sister. And in the end, that's all that mattered.